few weeks later, Jabari felt lonely and jealous of Amani and Kwame's happiness. She decided to try and make Kwame fall in love with her. One evening, when Amani was out, Jabari approached Kwame. She thanked him for letting her stay and reminded him of how things could have been between them. Kwame's smile faded as he remembered how she once rejected him for Dr. Mensah. He explained that his heart now belonged to Amani and he would never cheat on her. Feeling guilty, Jabari apologized and went inside, muttering to herself that if she couldn't have Kwame, no one would. She knew Kwame wasn't really her type, but she was determined to manage him because finding a good man in the city was difficult. She vowed to do everything within her power to win him over. A few days later, Jabari started acting friendly and helpful around Kwame, hoping he would notice her. She cooked his favorite meals, helped with his work, and tried to spend more time with him. But Kwame only saw her as a sister, his love for Amani unshakable. Weeks passed, and Jabari tried to make Kwame leave Amani and fall in love with her. Kwame refused, reminding Jabari of how she had rejected him before for Dr. Mensah. He firmly stated his love for Amani and urged Jabari to respect that. One day, Jabari came home from the salon and found Kwame in the living room. She sat down and expressed her frustration about Amani still living with them. She couldn't understand why Amani hadn't moved out yet. Kwame listened patiently and reassured her that he was working on finding a place for Amani. He explained that soon, Amani would move into her own apartment. Jabari frowned and brought up the money Dr. Mensah had been giving to Amani. She wondered why Amani couldn't use that money to establish herself and move out faster. Kwame sighed and explained that Amani had spent most of the money on material things. He mentioned how Amani had bought expensive clothes, jewelry, and other luxury items instead of saving up for her future. Jabari was surprised and a little annoyed. She couldn't understand why Amani would waste such an opportunity. Kwame reminded her that everyone makes mistakes and that Amani was learning from hers. He urged Jabari to be patient a little longer. Jabari's mother came from the village to visit her. She told her that she had a terrible dream about her and also told her to be very careful about her sister. In the dream, Jabari was surrounded by darkness and confusion, unable to find her way. Her mother took it as a warning and felt compelled to visit and ensure Jabari was safe. Jabari listened intently, feeling a shiver run down her spine. Her mother's dreams often foretold significant events. Her mother advised her to be very careful, especially around Amani. She warned Jabari to watch her sister closely and be wary of her actions. Jabari was surprised. She had seen the changes in Amani and believed she was genuinely trying to turn over a new leaf. She expressed this to her mother, but her mother remained firm. She reminded Jabari that people could change their behavior, but sometimes still harbor old habits and intentions. A week later, Kwame got Amani her own apartment. She moved in, and Jabari was relieved. With Amani out of her house, she felt that things would be easier. She wouldn't have any more problems with her sister living so close. A month later, Kwame was driving home when Amani called him. She sounded urgent, asking him to come over to her house immediately. Concerned, Kwame changed direction and drove to Amani's apartment. When he arrived, he was surprised to find that there was no emergency. Amani just wanted him around. Kwame felt confused and a little annoyed. He asked Amani why she had called him with such urgency if there was no problem. Amani tried to make light of the situation, saying she missed his company and wanted to spend time with him. Kwame shook his head and told her that he was not interested. He reminded her that he was already planning his marriage to Jabari and that his heart belonged to her. He then stormed out of Amani's apartment, feeling frustrated and a bit betrayed by her actions. On the drive home, he thought about what had happened and decided not to tell Jabari. He knew that she would be mad if she found out about Amani's behavior and didn't want to cause any more tension between the sisters. Meanwhile, Amani felt a mix of regret and determination. She realized that trying to get Kwame's attention had backfired, but she still didn't want to give up. She convinced herself that Kwame was the right man for her, and she needed to find a way to win him over. Out of desperation, Amani sought help from a very powerful native doctor. She explained her troubles and how she wanted to win Kwame's love. The native doctor gave her some charms and instructed her to put them in Kwame's drink. He promised that after drinking it, Kwame would immediately fall in love with her. Amani was eager to try anything. When she got home, she began to think of a way to get Kwame to visit her apartment. She remembered how she had called him before and how he had refused. This time, she decided to use a different approach. Amani called Kwame and invited him over, saying she needed his help with some issues around the apartment. She made it sound urgent, but not too serious. Kwame, feeling like it was the right thing to do, agreed to come over. When Kwame arrived at Amani's apartment, she greeted him warmly and offered him a drink. She had prepared a special wine, carefully adding the charms the native doctor had given her. Kwame, trusting Amani's hospitality, took a sip of the wine. He didn't notice anything unusual. As the evening went on, Kwame began to feel a strange sensation. He found himself increasingly drawn to Amani. The more they talked and laughed together, the stronger his feelings became. By the end of the night, he realized he was completely captivated by her. Amani noticed the change in Kwame's behavior. She could see that the charm was working. They spent the night together, talking and enjoying each other's company. Amani was thrilled to see Kwame's newfound affection for her. Back at home, Jabari began to worry when Kwame didn't return her calls. She tried calling him multiple times, but he didn't pick up. Anxiety grew as the hours passed, and she began to fear something might have happened to him. When Kwame got home the next day, Jabari was waiting for him. She asked where he had been all night and why he hadn't picked up her calls. Kwame responded sharply, telling her that he was not a child and she had no right to control him. Jabari was surprised by his tone and attitude. She had never seen him act this way before. Feeling hurt and confused, Jabari called her mother and told her what had happened. Her mother listened carefully and then advised her to always pray and stay strong. She reassured Jabari that everything would be all right. 2 weeks later, Jabari noticed that Kwame had stopped talking about their wedding plans. Worried, she asked him why he wasn't discussing their wedding anymore. To her surprise, Kwame told her that he was not getting married to her anymore. Jabari thought he was joking, but when she looked at his face, she saw he was serious. Desperate to understand what was happening, Jabari asked him why he had changed his mind. Kwame said he was in love with someone else. Jabari's heart sank, and she asked him who this other person was. Kwame told her that she would soon find out. Jabari couldn't believe what she was hearing. She burst into tears, feeling her world crumble around her. She had been so excited about their future together, and now it was all falling apart. As the days went by, Jabari tried to talk to Kwame, hoping he would change his mind. But he remained distant and cold. He spent more and more time away from home, leaving Jabari alone with her thoughts and fears. One evening, Jabari decided to visit Amani, hoping to find some comfort. When she arrived at Amani's apartment, she was greeted by a sight that broke her heart. Kwame was there, and it was clear from their behavior that they were more than just friends. Jabari realized that Amani was the woman Kwame had fallen in love with. Jabari confronted Amani and Kwame, demanding to know how they could betray her like this. Amani tried to explain, but Jabari was too hurt to listen. She felt completely betrayed by both her sister and the man she loved. Heartbroken, Jabari left the apartment and went back home. She cried for hours, unable to understand how things had gone so wrong. She felt abandoned and alone, but she knew she had to find a way to move forward. Amani started to pressure Kwame to chase Jabari out of his house. She wanted Jabari gone so she could have Kwame all to herself. Every time she brought it up, Kwame would tell her to relax and give him time. He didn't want to act rashly and make a bigger mess of things. But as days turned into weeks, Amani grew impatient. She noticed that Kwame was not as obedient to her as he used to be. This worried her, so she decided to go back to the native doctor. She explained the situation, and the native doctor gave her another charm. He assured her that this charm was stronger and would definitely work. Amani followed the instructions carefully and used the charm on Kwame. Soon after, Kwame's behavior began to change. He became more distant and cold towards Jabari. One day after coming home from work, he told Jabari that he was done with the relationship and that she needed to leave his house. Jabari was shocked and heartbroken. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. She begged Kwame to reconsider, but his mind was made up. The charm had taken full effect, and Kwame was determined to get her out of his life. With a heavy heart, Jabari packed her things. She had saved a little money, and she used it to rent a small apartment. Moving out was one of the hardest things she had ever done, but she knew she had no other choice. She couldn't stay where she wasn't wanted. As Jabari settled into her new place, she felt a mix of emotions. She was sad and lonely, but she also felt a sense of relief. She no longer had to deal with the constant tension and heartache. She decided to focus on rebuilding her life and finding her own path. Meanwhile, Amani was pleased with the results of the charm. With Jabari gone, she believed she could finally have Kwame all to herself. Kwame, under the influence of the charm, continued to be with Amani, but their relationship was far from perfect. They had frequent arguments, and the love that had once been there seemed to fade away. Kwame couldn't understand why he felt so unhappy, and Amani struggled to keep him close. As time went on, the effects of the charm began to wear off. Kwame started to see things more clearly. He realized that his feelings for Amani were not as strong as they had been, and he began to question the decisions he had made. Amani was in Kwame's house one evening, feeling a mix of anticipation and nervousness. She had been waiting for the right moment to ask him a crucial question. As they sat in the cozy living room, she turned to him and asked when she would be moving in with him. To her shock, Kwame replied that he wasn't ready to live with any woman right now. Amani's heart sank. She thought to herself, "Has the charm stopped working? I need to do something fast." Determined to regain control, Amani decided to visit the native doctor the very next morning. She needed a stronger charm, something that would not only make Kwame want her, but also put her in control of his business. When she arrived at the native doctor's hut, he listened to her request and then agreed to help, but with one shocking condition. She had to sleep with him. Amani was horrified. "No, I can't do that," she protested. But the native doctor was firm. "You can leave if you want," he said, knowing her desperation. Feeling trapped and desperate, Amani reluctantly agreed. After the degrading encounter, the native doctor handed her a powerful charm, warning her to be extremely careful with it, as it was the strongest one he had ever made for her. Amani took the charm and went home, feeling a mix of shame and determination. She was willing to do anything to keep control over Kwame and his business. She waited for the right moment to use the charm, knowing that she had to be careful. A few days later, she invited Kwame over to her place. She prepared his favorite meal and added the charm to his drink. When Kwame arrived, he seemed distant and distracted. But after drinking the charmed drink, his attitude began to change. He became more attentive and affectionate towards Amani. Over the next few weeks, Kwame's behavior became more and more influenced by the charm. He started talking about merging his business with Amani's ideas. He consulted her on important decisions and seemed to rely on her more than ever before. Amani felt like she was finally getting the control she wanted. Meanwhile, Jabari was slowly rebuilding her life. She found a better job and started taking night classes to improve her skills. She made new friends and began to enjoy her independence. She missed Kwame, but she knew she couldn't go back to the toxic relationship they had. She focused on her future and tried to move on. One evening, while visiting a friend, Jabari heard rumors about Amani and Kwame. People were talking about how Amani seemed to have a strange hold over him. Jabari couldn't help but feel a pang of concern. She hoped that one day he will come back to his senses. As time went on, the charm's power became too strong for even Amani to control. Kwame's behavior became erratic and unpredictable. He would make sudden business decisions that didn't make sense and started to lose the trust of his business partners. Amani started spending Kwame's money lavishly. She bought expensive clothes, jewelry, and took extravagant vacations. Kwame seemed not to be bothered, letting her do whatever she wanted. Hearing the rumors, Jabari decided to go to Kwame's mother. She told her everything about Amani and the charms. Kwame's mother was angry at Jabari for not telling her sooner. Kwame's mother was a very strong Christian. When she arrived at Kwame's house, she talked sense into him and gave him a holy Bible before she left. Kwame started to pray whenever he was free. Soon, the charm began to lose its power. Amani noticed she was no longer fully in control of Kwame and his business. Feeling desperate, Amani went back to the native doctor. The native doctor, once again, had his way with her before giving her another charm. Amani went home and used the charm as usual, but unknown to her, Kwame saw her hiding it. He secretly changed the charm and replaced it with something harmless. That evening, Amani served Kwame wine with the charm mixed in, thinking to herself, "This will make him my servant forever." But to her surprise, when she asked Kwame for money, he didn't listen. She was shocked and thought maybe the charm needed more time. Kwame pretended to be under the charm's influence for a while, gathering evidence and waiting for the right moment. He continued to pray and read his Bible, feeling stronger each day. He knew he had to be careful and not alert Amani to his plan. One day, while at the office, Kwame confided in one of his friends. He said he was tired of Amani. She spent his money lavishly, refused to work, and had become lazy. She also had a penchant for fetish practices. His friend advised him to pretend he had lost all his money and see if Amani would still stay with him. Intrigued by the idea, Kwame decided to give it a try. When Kwame got home that evening, he told Amani that he was broke and had lost everything. Amani's reaction was not what Kwame hoped for. She looked at him with disdain and called him a poor man. Over the next few days, Kwame noticed different men dropping Amani off at their house. When he complained, Amani would just sneer and call him names, saying that a poor man like him had no right to question her actions. As time passed, Amani grew tired of Kwame's poor state. One day she packed her things and left him without a word. When Kwame got home and found her gone, he felt an immense sense of relief. He realized he had dodged a bullet. Determined to move on with his life, he decided to make amends with Jabari. Kwame went to Jabari and apologized for everything that had happened. He admitted his mistakes and asked for her forgiveness. Jabari, seeing the sincerity in his eyes, forgave him. They started spending more time together, rekindling the bond they once had. Meanwhile, when Amani heard that Kwame had only pretended to be broke, she was furious. She stormed into his office, shouting and causing a scene. She accused Kwame of using and dumping her. Kwame calmly told her how he had found the charms she was using on him. This revelation made Amani even more furious. She stormed out of his office, vowing to make him pay. Blinded by rage, Amani decided to go to the native doctor for stronger charms. She hurriedly crossed the road without looking and was hit by a speeding car. She died instantly. A few weeks later, Kwame and Jabari got married in a beautiful ceremony attended by family and friends. They were both grateful for the second chance they had been given. With Amani out of their lives, they focused on building a happy and peaceful life together. Kwame learned the importance of being careful with whom he trusted, and Jabari found happiness in forgiving and moving forward. Kwame and Jabari lived happily ever after, always remembering the lessons they had learned. Their story became a tale of love, redemption, and the power of true forgiveness. The villagers, once skeptical of the twins, now looked up to them with admiration and respect. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.